Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. Got another jam-packed call here today. So first, we're going to have Jerry Monyak from EC8. He talked to me on Friday afternoon and was telling me that he had some conversations with the guys on Fridays that I thought was kind of entertaining. So Jerry, can you share that with us? Get Jerry up here. There's Jerry.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, guys. Hope you had a good weekend. Yeah, I had some calls last week, and they were exciting, and some were a little bit disappointing. So I wanted to share with you guys a little bit, and kind of the I'll just kind of jump in the details. So two of the guys that I was talking to have been doing eye to eye, and I was helping with some cases, and they were just normally when you talk to guys, there can be some excitement when great things are going on, and two of these guys, they're just killing it on the eye to eye. They're closing a ton of cases, and it's really exciting when your hard work pays off. And these are guys, even though they're closing cases over and over and over again, I always admire the fact because they worked hard on the system and they record every single meeting. And even though they've been successful, they know that they can continue to get better, and so they'll record every single meeting. And they could probably not record the meetings, but they know what that's done for them in their practice, so they continue to record those meetings even when they close the business. And so kudos to those guys, and there's a lot of guys that are like that on the system, and so keep those things up because it's going to continue to pay off for you, and you guys already know that anyways. But then I had two other calls that same day, and we're talking about how their meetings were going, and they said they're having some issues, so we broke down, and they started telling me a little bit more detail about their meetings. And so then I'd asked them, like, all right, well, it kind of sounds like this might be the issue, but we don't really know unless Jeff and Mike can actually hear it. We're all just guessing. And so I asked them, I said, now did you record that meeting? And what do you think they said? Oh, no, I didn't record it. And so I'm sitting here listening to these other guys talk, that are having success, and they've went through that process, and I've seen it with plenty of the guys of recording their meetings and what it's done for them. So then I hear other guys that aren't having that same success, and then they tell me simply that they didn't even record their meetings. I mean, that just blows my mind. I sit around here having a conversation with JV, we're just scratching our heads, and we look at these two totally different types of people, guys that are closing business, recording their meetings, and guys that are not closing business and they are not recording their meetings. I mean, there's a huge difference. So I'll ask you guys, what's the most important tool we have to help improve our skills?
Well, let's see if they can answer that.
Oh, I'm sorry. You gave it away.
Okay, well, now people are saying recorder. Yep.
Right, it's the recorder. Why is it the recorder? Any answers on that, Mike?
We got Jeff and Mike, and feedback, and practice makes perfect. Feedback tells all. Define history of appointment. Yeah.
Well, I think those are all good reasons, and especially we have two. I mean, for me, I've seen it in my own life and even in my work. But you have Jeff and Mike. You can't really be coached unless you have something to be coached on. It doesn't do any good to sit and just think about the meeting and think about how I could have been better. The mind lies. We all know that. So, but we can't really go back and get better at those meetings unless we record the meetings, and it blows my mind. And I don't want to harp because we have lots of guys doing great things, but I just want you guys to understand this and take advantage of that, because you can't use that coaching by Jeff and Mike. And if you're serious about actually getting better, we have to record those meetings. So what it kind of reminds me a little bit is I got a little bit of a story here. So if our kid's playing basketball, and he's a great player, and he comes to me and he says, yeah, I'm not having a ton of success this year right now. It's just not working for me. And I'm just like, well, what's going on? And he says, well, come to the game here. You'll see this. And I go to the game, and I look, and he's sitting there wearing cowboy boots. And so after the game, I come to my kid, and I said, what are you doing? He goes, the coach won't put me in the game. I'm a great player, but he won't put me in the game here. And and I don't know what his deal is. What am I going to say to him? Well, you're sitting here wearing cowboy boots, and he goes, well, that doesn't matter. I don't want to, I don't like wearing basketball shoes. I'm like, son, I bought you a brand new pair of basketball shoes, the best shoes you could possibly have for the sport, and you're wearing cowboy boots. Well, Dad, I don't want to wear those. They're uncomfortable for my feet. I'm not even used to wearing them. I don't want to do that. That's just not for me. Well, what am I going to say to my son anytime he comes to me and he complains why he's not having success, and in fact he can't even get on the floor? Am I even going to entertain that conversation anymore? If he comes to me again, next game he comes to me and he says, son, he says, Dad, he goes, the coach won't put me in the game again. What am I going to say to him? Am I give him a long-winded explanation and say, son, you got perfectly good shoes here, put them on and quit your whining. You have the tools in order to be successful. You're not having success because you won't do the simple thing of wearing your basketball shoes and using the best possible tool for the job. So if we have the tools to be successful and we have the right tool and we're not using it, we're being foolish. And I love all the guys on the system, and it's frustrating because we have this tape. You look at it. This is the ultimate way. We just said it was the most important way to improve our skills on the system. And so it makes me wonder sometimes, to people, everybody, I talk to everybody when they come on. Everybody says, hey, I want to be great. I want to be, I want to close a lot of business. And then when the rubber hits the road sometimes, we won't record, which is a simple task. You push a button. It's not hard. We just take this recorder, we push the button, and we make sure that it's able to record. And then you're going to be able to get better. So it makes me wonder sometimes, do people really want to get better? I wonder back to when, if I were to grab everybody's wife in the room that's on the system, and I were to say, hey, here's the tool that we use. All we do, it's really simple. You record meetings, and then we're going to be able to improve from those, and then you can be the best possible advisor you can be. How many of our wives would be upset with us if we told them we weren't doing what it took to be the best possible advisor we could be, that we could be ourselves? I know what my wife would say if I told her that, hey, I wasn't putting in the work or doing the small things to be as good as I could and do it for my family and be the best possible advisor and be as profitable as I could be. I mean, she'd be frustrated with me. I mean, that's a little bit of a reality check there. You think back to when we're younger and we had dreams of being the best that we could possibly be at something, that we wanted to be the very best. What happened to that drive? Let's have that drive again. So, we have the tools here to get better. You have Jeff and Mike here. They can help you when you have those tapes. We have real meetings. Let's never let a meeting, whether it's a good meeting where you got something sold and they went through the process right, or a negative meeting, if we have it recorded, then every meeting is a good meeting because we can improve from each meeting. That's how you get better at the system, from improving. So kudos to all the guys that are recording their meetings. You know the power of it, and keep it up. And guys, if you're not recording your meetings right now, step it up. Be real with yourself and take on that criticism. And after a couple tapes, you'll realize, hey, this is great. I'm improving, and you'll be able to have an improved and a great practice next year. So I'm off my soapbox and record those meetings.
Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate that. Again, I mean, we apologize to those of you that are actually doing this, but that should be, what Jerry just said should be a pat on the back. You're doing the right thing. Even though I think somebody here in the comments said that NFL players, the best in the world, still watch the tapes every single Monday and still take coaching from their coaches constantly. So thanks for sharing that, Jerry. And guys that aren't, please don't call up and wonder why things aren't working. Don't call up and wonder why the marketing's not working. Don't call up and wondering why the people aren't doing what we said they're going to do if you haven't taped the meeting, because I want everybody to answer this. When you call up and say it's not working, you don't have a tape, and you're going to tell us, and Jeff, you can jump in here, how many of these guys say, I'm doing it exactly the way you guys lay it out, Jeff. I'm doing it exactly the way I'm supposed to, Mike, but it didn't work. Super. Let's listen to the tape and see what happens. Oh, I didn't record the tape. I didn't record the meeting. So what am I going to get? Let's see some answers. What am I going to say to that guy? I'll tell you then 100% with 100% surety that you what? No, I'm going to tell you 100% surety that you did it what? Yeah, you messed it up, Keith, exactly. You messed it up. Why? Well, I got 50,000 tapes we've done. I've listened to 60,000. We've got 50,000 in our archives where it works. So it's interesting. We got 50,000 tapes where when you do it the way we ask you to do it, the people move all their money. But yet you're telling me you're the one person out of 50,000, or you're the one person out of 60,000 that you followed the system, but it didn't work. Just so happens you just didn't happen to tape it. Jeff, how valuable would we find that tape? The one tape where they did it like we laid it out and it didn't work. How valuable would that tape be for us?
Yeah, and here's the funny thing too is I never ever get pushback when I'm talking to somebody and they say, I get those conversations where it didn't work, but when I say, do you have the tape? They say, no, I didn't tape it. And I say, why? And you know, I hear a lot of reasons, but even as the reasons are coming out of everybody's mouth, I never ever get pushback. Everybody always says, I know, I should have, and I was going to, but, and then a bunch of excuses. But it's neither here nor there. The point is, I've never heard anybody say that there's no value in taping, or I intentionally didn't tape it because. And so everybody on the call agrees that we should tape all of our meetings, and yet I don't even know that half of you do. I think about half of you do, but if anything, it's not more than half. It might even be a little bit under half, and so I don't know. Even though the other half of you are saying, I know I should, and I need to start, and I understand, you know, it would be valuable, but I just didn't do it. And I have to wonder why. I think I know why. I think it's accountability. I know, because sometimes people will tell me this, well, I'm taping them, but I'm not going to send them in until I'm good. And I get that. I understand that. And at least you're taping them, but that's why the other people, I think, aren't taping them, because they're thinking to themselves, I really didn't study it. I'm not going to do it right. I'm just going to wing it, so there's no point in taping it, because all that would happen is you'd find out that I didn't do it the way I was supposed to do. And so you don't send it in. And I would tell you, here's a story from myself. A bunch of my friends learned how to country line dance. So years ago I thought, you know what? I should learn how to do it too. So I signed up to take lessons. But I didn't want to go to the lessons and look like a fool. So guess what I did? I asked some of my friends, hey, can we go out some night and you can kind of show me, you know, what you're doing and kind of teach me some of the moves. Now, why did I want to learn the moves before I went to the lesson? Because I was going to take the lesson. They were going to teach me at the lesson. Why did I want to learn before I went to the lesson? Because I knew they were going to look at me and judge me on how well I could dance or whether I would look stupid, or and just that little bit of accountability, knowing somebody was going to look at me and critique me, made me decide to work a little harder to get it right. And I think if you just make yourself tape the meetings, you'd be surprised that you just work a little harder before the meeting to get it right. To be a little bit more prepared, knowing that somebody's going to listen and critique this. And you'd be surprised, even if you didn't send it in, how much better you'd be just knowing that that tape was there for you to listen to or for us to listen to. There's just no excuse not to tape. So you just need to send them in. You just need to do it.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I mean, that's the one tool you have that nobody else in the industry has. Is Jeff and myself can sit down and help you make your next meeting more successful. So please do that. So the other thing, now that we're into, I mean, some of you are cleaning up your eye to eyes, which is fantastic. Other than that, we're running, butting right into Thanksgiving. So what can you do between Thanksgiving and January when we start the eye to eyes again? Well, mastering the 21-point checklist. So a lot of you guys have struggled, and I've given, what I've done is gone back to the big 3, and then now I'm going through to the rest of the 21, and I'm giving you tutorials. So there's a 3-part. You see, Power of Attorney is part 1, 55 minutes long. Part 2, 42 minutes long. Part 3, 17 minutes long. And what I'm doing is I'm having you master it. So once you've done that, so what do we got here? About 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. After 3 hours, and then it's interactive, so probably after 6 hours, you'll have this Power of Attorney mastered the way you need to have it mastered. And I have some of the guys that are doing really well, and I've sent this to 2 of them, and they said, holy cow, I'm missing very important parts. And this is the way to do it. So I would highly recommend you go back to the big 3, and we have this tutorial, 3-part tutorial for Power of Attorney, beneficiaries, and titling. And I'm going through the rest of them and redoing those as well. And what we're doing is learning it the way I asked you to learn it. So if we're going to learn a 40-line poem, how do we learn a 40-line poem, guys? Read it over and over and over and over and over and over. Is that how you learn a 40? If you would need to memorize, is that how you memorize a 40-line poem? Line by line, Jonathan, right. So what this is I go through line 1, or the crib note for Power of Attorney, the first one over with you. So you'll hear me do that crib note maybe 5, 6, 7 different ways, but it's still the same crib note. And then I ask you to turn off the video. Tape it, listen to yourself, tape it, listen to yourself, tape it, listen to yourself until you get it down. Then turn the video back on. And then we do crib note number 2, over and over and over and over. And then I have you pause the video. Then you record yourself, listen to yourself, record yourself, listen to yourself, record yourself, listen to yourself. You got it. Then we go back and we do number 1 and number 2 together. And then you're going to pause the tape and do 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 together. Then we're going to pause the tape and we're going to learn crib note number 3 over and over and over and over until you, and then we have you pause the tape, record it, and do that until you have that mastered. Then we're going to do 1, 2, and 3 together. We're building a pyramid here. And so many of you guys have the belief that you have these scripts down. When you go back and do this, guess what you're going to find out? First of all, if you've got the script down, answer this, please, guys. If you have this script down, how quickly will you go through this tutorial? Quickly, exactly. And then you can pat yourself on the back for how much of a genius you are. But finding little things in here, guess what? Those little things can make a huge difference. So we've got these for the big 3. We have these for the VA. We'll be adding to these for the whole 21, hopefully, so we have them all down by December 31st. That's my goal. Can't promise, but that's my goal because it takes me a whole day to film these guys. So what should you be doing between now and December 31st? I want everybody to answer this. I got lots of people on the call. I want everybody to answer this. Mastering the 21, not studying, mastering the 21. Drilling, that's a good word. Mastering the 20, yes, exactly. That's what I want you to do, okay? Because if we do that, guys, and then doing the 15-minute drills as well. If you don't know what 15-minute drill to do, have you guys been listening to the Thursday email that we send out with the little 5-10 minute deal I have on what that advisor could have done better? Is that a helpful tool to you? And then you should be doing that for yourself. How often, guys? Every single day you should be doing the 15-minute drill, okay? Got to do it, got to do it, got to do it. Because when you've mastered the scripts and the motive, which is right there on the 21 scripts, and you're doing your daily practice of the 15-minute drill in GOTS, how many people will you close? When you've mastered these things, how many people will you close? All of them. For how much of their money? Come on, I got 2 people. Everybody answer this. Because if you believe this, guess what you should do between now and December 31st? Jerry says 50%. What would you say to Jerry? Jerry, you better get on the phone with me or Jeff and figure that out. Guys, why would somebody do 50%? If they spend 2 hours telling you why they don't trust their guy, you're only going to close half the guys? Thank you to everybody else. So we got one doughhead who got that wrong. So you get on the phone with with Jeff or myself, Jerry, to figure that out. Okay, so this is somebody most of you don't know. His name is Steve Edmondson. He's Nevada's public pension manager. And he's kind of odd in that he has no staff. He rarely takes any meetings, eats his lunch at his desk. So he manages all of Nevada's public pension. One guy, all by himself, look at this guy. That's him. Pretty fancy office, right? And guess what? He beats virtually every other pension in the country. And guess how he does it? Anybody want to guess how he does it? Come on, guys. Somebody knows this. You just don't want to say it. Buy and hold, Bruce, you're right. Index funds, Jay, yep. How's he do it? He does as little as possible. He's all in index funds, and he makes one trade a year. His annual fees are $18 million. The average annual fees for public pensions is $120 million. Is there any doubt why he beats the pants off of all the other pensions? Geez, he's already got what kind of a head start, guys? He's got a $100 million head start. Geez, that's not a bad thing, is it? Now let's talk about pensions. This is pensions that are in the gray have had no changes. Cuts to benefits are we got Oklahoma and New Jersey. Raised retirement age, and this is for state pensions, government pensions. So raised the retirement age and worker contributions in the dark blue here, and then did both. Cut the benefits and increased contributions in retirement age are the dark blue. So why am I showing you this, guys? Why am I showing this to you? Because anybody that you meet that thinks their pension is solid is what? Anybody who thinks their pension is solid is wrong, is misguided. Will they cut benefits to your pension? Will they cut benefits? Yes, they will. So when somebody says, I got a great pension, I don't need to worry about this, you need to say what? Oh, yes, you do. So this, look at here. From 1995 to 2001, this is private pensions, S&P 500 pension breakdown. So the S&P 500 companies, their pension breakdown. From 95 to 2001, their pension funding status ratio was positive or negative? Positive. Guess what's happened since then? 2002 to 2015, it's been what? Overfunded or underfunded? And are things going to get better or worse for these pensions? So if you're meeting with somebody who thinks their pension is awesome, you got to tell them what? No way. No way, no way, no way. Don't think your pension is going to solve your problems. Make sense? So now I want to talk a little bit about how we function with our emotions and our decision making. And we're going to talk about cognitive bias. Cognitive bias. So everything you look for and all that you perceive has a way of proving whatever you believe. In other words, what? We are awesome at rationalization. See, we get the blinders on. We get the blinders on. We only see what we want to see. So let's talk about some of these biases and how we can overcome them. So this is for you guys. I'm going to talk about you, and then I'm going to talk about the client. So right now, this is your bias as an advisor, and my bias as an advisor. So recency bias is we tend to put too much weight on what we saw most recently. So I want to talk about how those biases affect our marketing and affect our selling. So again, we tend to put too much weight on what we saw most recently. So when the year I made $1 million a year doing seminars, I would have in one day 4 people come in with no money, and at the end of the day, I'm saying, I'd run into Missy's office and say, Missy, what's wrong with this seminar? All we did was mail out to to people that had no money. I have 4 people in the row that had no more money. No, there was no money today. Now here's the thing, guys. We mailed out. We have a very small population here, so I was mailing out to the same group of people over and over and over again. So did I mail to a different group of people, Missy?
No, we had the same group of people every other time that we mailed.
So what happened when I said the last 4 people had no money? Was I right that the last 4 people had no money?
The last 4 people had no money, but guess what? It went in waves. So then the next person, guess what? Had money.
Yeah, so the next day I'd run into somebody with 120,000 and a person with 400,000. So that's $500,000 right there. Now the difference is, guys, what did I do with the person with the 120 and 400,000? What did I do with those 2 people? I closed them. Why? Because they spent 2 hours telling me that they didn't trust their guy. So guess how many of them I closed? And how much money did they move to me? See, that's the difference. Did I worry? I did worry. Did I worry about the people with the money? Yes, I did. And then I just what? Let the numbers play out. Okay? And how does this affect selling? Well, again, recency, right? Put too much weight on what we saw most recently. So with selling, hey, what I've been doing for years works. And guys, I know what you've been doing has worked for years. But it's worked to make you how much money, guys? The amount that you're making right now. If you want to make more, you got to what? Do the same thing or change. Hey, I didn't do a 21 with that person and I still got the deal. Hey, I didn't collect all the documents and I still got the deal. Hey, I did all the talking and I still got the deal. So what would you say to that, Jeff?
I'd say I mean, that's entirely possible, but that's not how you get everybody. So I would say that's how you get maybe 1 or 2 in 10. And if that's okay with you, then I guess that's all you need to do. But if you want 2 in 10 to be 4 in 10 or 6 in 10, you're going to have to do the 21. I mean, it's entirely possible to get these things without doing it right. And I guess it's entirely possible to go to Las Vegas and go there with $1,000 and come home with $100,000. Shouldn't count on that happening every time.
Yeah, so everything works. A broken clock's right twice a day. And you guys are all successful or you wouldn't be in business right now. So what you were doing kind of worked. But if you want to close every single person for all their money, do we have a way to do that? And I want to see everybody's answer to this. Got one answer. Got lots. Okay, not everybody's answer. So here's the thing. I don't care if what you just did yesterday doesn't work unless it's the system, because the system has proven to work for over a decade and a half. Another is anchoring bias. What are the last 2 digits of your Social Security number? Mine's 11. Well, mine's 99. And then, now, how much are you will you pay for this wine? I'll pay 30. I'll pay 80. It ends up being that you can anchor somebody's thoughts to something higher, something lower, something negative, or something positive. People get anchored to whatever they thought of last. So how does that affect us in marketing? Well, again, the first person I said to, like I did that with 4 people coming in with no money. First people came in and said, no money, no money, no money. So obviously, Missy, did I say, oh, we just had 4 people with no money? Or did I say, oh my God, this whole seminar, nobody has any money?
At the moment, you were thinking, oh my God, there's nothing here. There's no money here. But then as soon as you saw money come back through, it's like, oh, this is just the way it happens. There's always going to be some people with no money, followed by people with money.
Yeah, so you have to really fight your tendency to think, oh my gosh, the last thing that just happened is what's going to happen. Just looking, oh, they're just looking, oh, they're not saleable. If you believe that, guys, guess what? If you believe these things, guess what? See, the difference between me when I was making 50 grand a year and me making $1 million a year was I seeing different people. They were the exact same people. But when I believed they were just looking and they were tire kickers and plate kickers, guess what they ended up being? Tire kickers and plate lickers. When I believed 100% of people were closable, guess what they became? Closable, self-fulfilling expectations, right, Steve? When selling, here's another thing with anchoring. I hear one pain the client has, and I skew all the information that way. So I hear that they're upset about their variable annuity, so guess what I want to spend all my time talking about? Their variable annuity. And the other way that we'll do this with anchoring is we believe that we love rates of return. We love the sexiness of getting a higher rate of return, of beating the market. So guess what we bring to the client? Hey, do you want to make a lot of money? And of course they say, sure. But guys, do your clients really want to make a lot of money? Do they really want to make a lot of money? When they come to you, they just want to make sure that the lifestyle they have now never goes away. They don't want to move from their current house to a house twice as big. They don't want to move from driving a Ford F-150 to a Bentley. They just want to make sure what they have now never goes away. But we have this anchoring. Oh, I'm a financial advisor, so what I have to do is get them the highest rate of return possible. So when you go to them and say, hey, you want a high return possible? They say, yeah, I like that. But they're buying into they're anchoring to your belief to get a high rate of return. And is that a disaster waiting to happen, guys? If they're buying into your belief that you can get them a high rate of return, is that a disaster waiting to happen? Yeah, that's a major disaster waiting to happen. So believing what the one thing that they come to you with is their major problem is anchoring bias, or you have a bias and then they get anchored to your bias. So why no? Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, where you see this a lot is in medicine. So you go to the doctor and you say, I have a scratchy throat, and he thinks, oh, well, it's March, must be allergies. Let me see. Yep, red eyes. Dry nose? Yep. And he just decided in his mind it's allergies, and now guess what he finds proof of? It could be throat cancer, but he decided it was allergy. He sees the watery eyes, he sees the red, he asks you a few questions. Yep, allergies. Just go home and get some rest. Everybody does this. Everybody is susceptible to all of these things.
And how do we avoid it? That's right, Jeff. And how do we avoid it with 5Q? Guys, when they come with a hot button, are we excited or do we ignore it? When they come in with a hot button, are we excited or do we ignore it? No, Jay, we're not excited. That's right. We're getting lots of ignores it. Why? See, we record, or we create the hottest of all hot buttons. What's the hottest of all hot buttons, guys? It makes everything else pale. The 21 is not a hot button. What is the hottest of all hot buttons? Craig, you're getting, that's right, Bruce. They believe their advisor is disrespecting them. Guys, if their hot button is long-term care, do you think they run around all day long worried about long-term care? If their hot button is taxes, how long does taxes as a hot button last, guys? They get that hot button, they experience that hot button 4 times a year when they have to write their quarterly estimates, and then how long does that last? As long as it takes them to lick a what? Stamp. But here's the thing about being disrespected from their advisor. When does that go away? When does that go away? Never. It becomes a worm in their brain. They are looking at the ceiling at 2 in the morning saying, that son of a, I can't believe he's been screwing me all these years. See, that is the whitest of all white buttons. So we do anchor, but we anchor to something that's been successful 60,000 times over the last 16 years. So don't anchor to something that's ephemeral. Don't anchor to something that a hot button that they only are worried about on a very occasional basis. Instead, anchor yourself to something that they can't let go. Hyperbolic discounting, now versus later. So it's difficult to get people, this is an example saying, hey, to a youngster, a 30-year-old saying, hey, if you save 9% now, you'll eat steak and lobster for the rest of your life. I mean, when retirement, you're going to retire early and travel to exotic locations. If you do 6%, you're going to be eating hamburgers and going to, the Wisconsin Dell water slides. If you do 2%, you're going to eat bologna, and you're not going to go on vacation. You're going to go to the community center and be, in between working as a greeter at Walmart. See, it's hard because we want what? Do we want emotionally, do we want to sacrifice now for payoff later, or do we want everything now and worry about everything else later? I mean, that's why the credit cards are such a demise, right? Because the people can buy things now and feel the pain when. They get the pleasure now, the pain later, instead of the pain now and the pleasure later. So we have to deal with that. So how do we deal with that? Well, here's the thing. If you spend 160 hours mastering the 21-point scripts now, guess what, guys? If you spend 160 hours, 40 hours a week for 4 weeks, and you do the scripts that, go through the tutorials that I showed you to begin with, at the beginning of the meeting, if you do that now, spend that 160 hours now, which is going to be brutal, which is going to be tedious, which is going to be boring, which is going to be, you're going to wake up in the morning and not be saying, all right, I get to go master another 21, it's going to be awesome. No, it's not going to be like that. But what you're going to do is what? Once you've mastered the 21, what do you have now? Once you've mastered the 21, once you've done the 15-minute drills every day, once you commit to taping your meetings and send them to Jeff or myself when they don't work, that's right, Jonathan, you have an ATM. That's right, Steve, you have an ATM. Anytime you want money, it comes in. It's an ATM. Anytime you want money, it comes in. But it's pain. Jeff, do you think it's fun to spend 160 hours, 40 hours a week for the next 4 weeks mastering the 21 like I'm asking them to do, using the tutorials and just doing one crib note at a time and then adding another crib note and then practicing those 2 and then adding another crib note and then practicing those 3? Does that sound like a fun thing, Jeff?
No, it's not fun, but you only have to do it once. I mean, once it's done, it's done.
Oh, you mean once you learn Spanish, you don't have to keep learning Spanish?
Nope. You know it. You have to continue to use it. You can't. You got to continue to speak it. You got to continue to use it. But no, you throw the book away.
Well, let me ask you a question, Jeff. If I paid you, once you learn Spanish, I paid you $500,000, $800,000, $1 million a year to use Spanish, when are you going to forget Spanish?
Yeah, never.
So, guys, if you spend 160 hours learning mastering the 21, guess what? You're getting paid $1 million a year, $2 million a year if you want to use the skill. Of course you're not going to forget it at that point. Problem is that how much money are you making those 160 hours? Nothing. So what you're doing is you're instead of saying, oh, I want the pleasure now, I'll take the pain later, you're saying, I'm going to take the pain now and I'll do the pleasure for the rest of my life. Okay? Did you read my paper on confirmation bias? Yes, but it was only proved what I already knew. See, confirmation bias. My area is different. Missy, how many people say my area is different that we talked to?
Every single agent.
So I get it. Every area is different, but in the end, every area is what? The same.
The same.
I'm only getting poor people, tire kickers, and plate lickers. Duh! Duh! Every person that comes in is going to tell you they don't have money. Every person that comes in is going to be a tire kicker, and every person that comes in is a plate licker. What does mastering the 21 do, guys? Turns the tire kicker and plate lickers into clients who move all of their money. See, I didn't close any business, so this marketing doesn't work. Guys, what is that statement? Just so happens, anytime, again, we hear this from about a third of the people. How many tapes did those people send in? Do you want to guess, guys? 0. So I didn't close any business using marketing, so it doesn't work. That's what? Bull crap. But we do it. Why? Why do we do that? It's confirmation bias. Because if it says, I know I'm not a bad guy, I know I'm a good salesman, I made a good living all my life, so obviously what? Obviously what? Marketing has to not be working. Okay? Don't be a dumbass, guys. Selling. These people weren't interested in buying anyways. Yeah, duh. Not a single person is going to walk into your office is going to be interested in buying. The 21-point checklist turns those people into people who are unbelievably interested because they can't get away from their guy fast enough. These people are only interested in growth. These people really aren't interested in the non-financial. This one drives me crazy. So Jeff, how often, I mean, we don't hear this often, but when we hear it, it drives me bananas. And it's usually the same guy who says it over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, typically the person that'll say that is the advisor that'll say that. Let me start that way. The advisor that will say that is somebody who, call it, what did we just say, anchoring bias or something?
Yeah, confirmation,
so, yeah. So they found a hot button. And the only thing this person is interested in is long-term care. That's all they're coming in for, long-term care. So then you start deciding that, well, they're not going to be interested in wills or trusts or survivor's guide or ID theft or any of that other stuff. All they want to do is talk about long-term care. They're not even going to be interested in this other they're not going to care about titling or beneficiaries. All they want to talk about is long-term care, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
You try and whip through those non-financials really fast and make it sound like, hey, they're good, but just something to think about, something to think about. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, and then you're flabbergasted when the people say, look, this stuff isn't a big deal. Let's just get to that other stuff. So that's really what it is.
Exactly. These people don't want to answer my questions. I just dealt with 2 of these tape reviews last Friday. And what you find, guys, is guess what? Early in the meeting, the people were happy. They were wanted to answer all your questions. They were very talkative. And what happened is because these 2 advisors both had the same problem. They're both early in the system, and they learned they made huge leaps forward on Friday because they sent a tape in. Because they learned they were correcting, and the one we listened to, in the first 5 minutes, he corrected them like 8 times. So guess what? By the end of the meeting, were those people wanting to talk anymore? No. So without the tape, this guy said, I know one time during the meeting I corrected him. No. Guess how many times? In the first 5 minutes, he corrected them 8 times, let alone the 2-hour meeting. Guess what? So of course the people are going to, but here's the great thing. How many things do you think that guy corrected then on Friday? If he pays attention and makes it a priority and focuses on it, how many things did that guy correct with just one tape review? How many things? 8 in the first 5 minutes, but guess what? If he was doing that in the first 5 minutes, guess how many he was doing over the next 2 hours? Tons, right, Mike? Tons. So he's going to, guess what's going to happen to his next meeting? It's going to be off the charts, okay? Clustering bias, seeing patterns where none exist. You start to give yourself a pat on the back for skill when it's actually luck. So referrals is working for me. Yeah, because you think, well, last year my referrals are working for me. Or worse, referrals are working for me because I have this 80% closing ratio. Guys, what should your closing ratio be in referrals? It should be 100%. The last 2 people had new money, so a lot of these are the same. You're seeing a lot of bias will cause you to think the same thing. Last 2 here's one. The last 2 mailings I did were, I had 21 prospects and 15 prospects. So what do you expect the next time? Guys, when it comes to marketing, guess what? What you got last time is what? When it comes to marketing, what you got last time is, nothing. Right, Jerry? Nothing. What you got is what you got, because it has no bearing on what's going to happen the next time. Hey, what I've been doing for years works. Hey, I didn't do a 21, and I still got the deal. Hey, I didn't collect all the documents, still got the deal. Hey, I did all the talking, still got the deal. Yeah. Guys, again, this is just another example we talked to earlier, different confirmation bias with the same outcome, which you start to say, why do I need to change when what I've been doing forever has worked? Yeah, I get it. It does work. It does work. Just not very well. See, if you get skilled at the 5Q scripts and the motives, get skilled at GOTS and do your 15-minute drill every day so you keep those skills sharp, your sales transactions plus customer contacts, you're going to close 80 to 90% of those people. If you don't have this kind of closing ratio, guess what? Where should you be spending all your time? Trying to find better marketing? If you don't have this kind of closing ratio, guess what I would do? If I did not have this closing ratio, guess what I would do? For the next month, guess what I would do? Try to figure out a better way to market? Yeah, I would master the 21, right, guys? I mean, I'd master the 21. Guess what losers do? Guess what losers want to do? They want to find better marketing. That's right, Steve, because they're in denial. They want to find better marketing because they think the problem isn't me. The problem is what? The problem is the marketing. I got to find marketing who gets people who are pre-closed, who actually want to come walk into my office wanting to buy from me. Guys, if there was marketing that got people walking into your office that wanted to buy from you, who would be out of a job? You would, right, Perry? Because the mutual fund companies, the money management companies, the insurance companies, you are their biggest expense. They would love to take you out of the equation. And if they could come up with marketing that took you out of the equation because people were already pre-sold. So our job is to take people who aren't interested and get them to move their money to us. Planning fallacy. A project, we think a project won't take us long. It ends up being a lot more lengthy than we thought. So what we think will take very few minutes ends up being days to finish. And where that comes up with marketing, Missy gets calls with people who want to start marketing when it's too late. So you delay, and all of a sudden you say, okay, I'm ready to do it. And it's like, well, that ship has passed. We got Thanksgiving now. We can't do marketing now. Now, guys, would other FMOs let you market during Thanksgiving? Yeah. Right, Perry, they would. Why? Right, Jerry? Yeah, they encourage it. Yeah, why? Because it's not their what? Money. So if you've got a finite amount of money, which I'm assuming we all have, I don't care how much money we have a finite amount of money. Do I want to be throwing that money when I'm going to get very little returns and be frustrated, or would I just assume wait for that during January, February, March, which is the best 3 months of the year? Why would I want to waste marketing during the holidays, where if instead I'd save that money and put even more towards the marketing I do in January, February, March, because that's where all the money's made. Or starting too late to prepare. There's nothing that frustrates me more than when I'll hear Jerry or JB at ECA say one of the advisors called and they were irritated because they were meeting somebody in an hour or 2 hours and they couldn't get a hold of Jerry immediately. What do you think I would tell that advisor? What do you think I would tell an advisor who's calling Jerry or JB at ECA and they can't, Jerry or JB can't get back to him for an hour, and they're mad because they're meeting somebody in an hour and a half? That's not professional, Bruce, right? That's not professional. Missy, when did I do all of my case analysis?
Once a week on the weekend for all of the cases on the following week.
I came in at 5 o'clock, and you don't need to do this, but I'm just telling you. Who's acting more professional? I came in on Saturday morning at 5 in the morning, and I did all my case planning then. And the reason I did it then was because I knew that if I came in at 5, I wasn't going to be dicking around. I was going to get that stuff done. And that's so I would be done by 7 at latest. So in 2 hours, it's amazing how much work you can get done. How's that as compared to somebody who says, hey, man, what am I going to, I don't know what to do, and I'm meeting these people here this afternoon. Dudes, don't do that. Do not do that. And Missy, I think you're still on. So, curse of knowledge. How can educated, well-paid people talk so much rubbish? This is, guys, this is telling, selling, preaching, and teaching. Stop it. So when it comes to marketing, selling, guess what? If you're a teller, seller, preacher, teacher, you know what? You're going to have the exact same success as you had last year. So if you're successful last year, you're going to be successful last year. If you were mediocre, you're going to be mediocre. If you were poor, you're going to be poor. Because if you tell, sell, preach, teach, all you're going to get is what you get before. And I would venture to say that you're going to, every year that goes by, you're going to get less and less, because the era of distrust, is upon us, and it gets worse every single year. And the more you tell, sell, preach, teach, that does not help people who don't trust you. Choice supported bias, the tendency to be irrationally supportive of an option you've already chosen. I've been using referrals, so it's been working great. I'm stuck. Here's the one that Mike, I can't learn your 21 because I got to see these Medicare people. I can't learn the 21 because I'm working with these 401ks and I'm kind of locked into that. I'm working with veterans business and kind of working. I get it, guys. That's how you make a living. But if you're using that as an excuse to not learn the 21, guess what? If you're using that as an excuse to not learn 21, guess what? What you got is what you got. Guys, I was a store manager. When I got into this business, I was a store manager at Best Buy. So I was working 60 hours a week. 60 hours a week. So how did I study from my Series 7 then? How did I study for my Series 7? If I'm working 60 hours a week, how did I study for my Series 7? When did I do it? I made time, right? I made time. Did I get home and say, oh, I deserve to watch TV. Oh, I deserve to watch the football game. No, what did I do? Now, if I had to do that for the rest of my life, I probably wouldn't do it, but I knew it was finite. And once I had mastered the Series 7 material, I could take the test and I'd be done with it. So, hey, if you can't stop doing these things, I get it. Well, then when should you learn the 21? Yeah, but Mike, I got family. Well, guess what? What can you tell us? We can get hey, if you need me to help you with your wife, let's get your wife on the phone, and we'll say, listen, for the next month, we can go ahead and make sure he has family time, or for the next month, we can make sure he learns the 21. Now, here's the difference. Will you sacrifice, Mrs. Smith, 1 month of family time for ungodly amounts of family time and money to do whatever the family wants going forward? Or are we going to cry about 1 month of missed family time? What's Mrs. Smith going to say? Guys, if you want me to get on the phone, I'd be happy to do it. What's Mrs. Smith going to say? Let's see some answers. What's Mrs. Smith going to say? Are you willing, Mrs. Smith, to sacrifice 1 hour worth of family time with your hubby so that he can have as much money as he ever wants going forward for you and the family? Of course. So no more, I can't do this because I'm in Medicare season. I can't do this because I'm in 401ks. I can't do this because veterans businesses. Guys, then guess what? Guess what? Do it when you don't have time. Or not doing those things. Or my BD says I can't. Guys, do you think I really care what your BD says you can and cannot do? If all the compliance attorneys we talk to say we can do what we're doing, and I have multiple BDs that say we can do what we're doing, do I really care what your BD says? No. Change BDs, and Jerry can validate. We have guys that do this probably every month. We have 2 or 3 guys that do this. Change BDs. I can't ask questions. You can't teach a dog new tricks. This is hard. I forgot to do my 15-minute drill. These are all what, guys? You know, I talk about this. For 42 years, I said I don't have the kind of mindset that can remember names. I can't remember names. I can remember faces, can't remember names. So when people would, I'll give you an example. When I would have, you guys would come out to trainings, I would never call people by names. Until 2004, I would never call people. I would say, hey, big guy, how you doing, dude? Hey, what's up, wild man? That's how I called everybody from 2000, 2004, and previous in my life, because I just said, hey, I can't remember names. And then finally I said, I'm bitching at the guys to quit making excuses, and here's what I'm doing, making excuses. So I said, you know what, I'm going to learn names, and here's how hard it was. The next training, we had 24 people out. We had a little 10-minute video about an hour into the training, and I went back, looked at the seating chart for 10 minutes, and magically, guess what I was able to do? So for 42 years, I said, I can't remember names, and then poof, when I quit saying it's hard or I can't, guess what I could do? Miraculously. Jeff, did you tap me on the head with the magic wand?
No, you just went and did it.
I just did it. So any of the things, Jeff, that we're asking people to do, would you say can't teach an old dog new tricks, or that's just a guy who's too lazy to make the effort?
Yeah, it's just, we're not asking anybody to do anything that you don't already do at home.
With your spouse, yep.
And your kids.
Your kids.
We're just asking you to talk to your clients the same way you would talk to your spouse or your kids or your friends. And so it's not anything, If you couldn't talk this way, you couldn't get married. You couldn't have friends. You couldn't have kids. So you can do it. It's just a matter of doing it in the office.
So there's tons of more bias here, but essentially, guys, I'm going to just end the call with all I'm asking you to do, guys, is the 21-point checklist helps you to overcome all these biases. It helps you put on the blinders and just do something that's worked 60,000 times. We got 50,000 tapes recorded and archived that prove it. So just do it that way. Memorize the scripts. You've got 6 weeks to do it, and you will have an unbelievable 2017, okay? So get in there, dig in there, check out the tutorials. Send me feedback on those, on how you think. And the couple of guys that I've had, and these are some of my top performers, and they even said, holy crap, this is going to be huge. This is a night and day difference from what I was doing before. And they were already successful. So imagine if you're not already successful, the kind of benefits you're going to get from going back and doing those tutorials. So go back and do the big 3 tutorials first, and we'll be letting you know as we add other tutorials as we go forward. Make sense? So guys, this is the time to buckle down and show whether you want to be successful in 2017 or whether you're going to settle for the same old excuse making that we all like to do instead of doing the hard work. Guys, I'm no different. I make excuses all day long, but when I need something or want something, guess what? I don't put up with myself having excuses anymore. I just go out and feel the pain, do it, get it done with, and then it's amazing. After you've done something that's worthwhile doing, how quickly does the pain disappear, guys? How quickly do you forget how much work it took to get to that point? It just disappears. Because now you're basking in the sunlight of the success you're having, okay? So you guys have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next Monday. Thanks, guys.